All right, everyone. Rodrigo Duterte over there in the Philippines, a dear leader over there, who's apparently still fairly popular. He's purged a lot of drug dealers, and there's some vigilantism going on. All things considered, though, other than that, has been like a normal leader. There's no further indicator, particularly. He hasn't like massacred anyone, although he killed off some communists and terrorists. But no sane people have a problem with that. And then he tried to strong arm China a bit, but then sort of allied with them, and then he did the same with the U.S. And it's like basically just being assertive, I suppose. But he came out a few days ago. And he was remarking on Catholicism. He's like, oh, well, the Vatican should just let priests have boyfriends because most of them are gay. And I think that was mainly a reference to, the obvious scandals that have been going on within the Vatican, some of which is sensationalism. Like there is some fake news, like biggest porn bust in the Vatican. It's like you're talking about one priest in their computer. You're not talking about like the Vatican archives or something. It gets blown out of proportion. But I mean, there is a correlation between being a priest and having these proclivities. And my theory has always been, what happens is someone has weird degenerate urges. They join the Catholic priesthood because they think, if I become a priest, if I'm like, God will be within me, I'll be holy, I can resist the urges because, Satan is kept away from me. It's literally out of superstition. They get in there, they realize that's not what happens, and they realize there is no Holy Spirit to actually protect them in that case, and then, it becomes a problem. Catholicism is rife with it. Maybe not as rife as Duterte is thinking. He's like, oh, well, 90% of priests are gay. And I think he doesn't really seem to be a friend of religion for the most part, or at least of Catholicism. I don't know, maybe he chalks it to like, oh, this colonial religion that was forced on our ancestors, or something like that. But, Filipino Catholicism also, and there's a good documentary on the Aswang that talks about this, actually is fused with so many other pagan elements. It's almost totally different from the way it's practiced, like maybe in Spain or in Mexico or here in the United States. Very interesting, actually, to think of. I like the Philippines. They seems like a good people, a good culture and country. Other than maybe the 20-foot-long crocodiles swimming around everywhere, I think that they have. I saw a picture once of one. It was like the biggest croc ever or something. It was like there were like 20 people had to hold it. It's fucking insane. It might have been a shoot, but no, I don't think it was. Now, Duterte is a funny guy, and he keeps making these comments. He's sort of like Trump in that respect, or like Bolsonaro, to tell the truth. Now, saying things that are over the top. Like, remember the time he said, well, when I catch a terrorist, maybe I'll eat his liver with salt and lime or something. He said basically he was going to cut out his liver and eat it salted or something along those lines. It was very funny. He threatened to invade an island that was being occupied by the Chinese, and was like, oh, yeah, I don't care, if a bunch of people die. I'm just going to do it anyway. And I think the Chinese left because I think they thought he was crazy at the time. And then they're like, okay, let's be allies. We want the madman on our side. I don't think he's mad, though. I remember when he was first elected, they're like, oh my God, he's going to be worse than Trump. He's going to kill everyone. He's going to be a horrible dictator. And he's not, really. He's not. He's cleaning up crime in his country, and he's trying to maintain, insofar as he can, an autonomous stance between the two main powers that are in play in the region, which is China and the United States. I don't really blame him for doing the strong arm thing, and that's why Trump and Xi have both been able to get along with him to some degree. But he's going to keep saying off-the-wall shit as long as he realizes, hey, it's fairly popular. And I think the Philippines, 95% Catholic or something. So he must have some severe popularity if he can come out and basically lay waste to the Catholic Church and talk about the priests should just have boyfriends and stuff like that. Over here, if Trump were to make such a joke, people would, have a nervous breakdown. I guess over there it's, nobody really gave a fuck. I think it's funny. I like Duterte, actually. People call him far right, too. It's like, other than, shooting drug dealers and vigilantism applied to that, I'm not 100% sure he's done anything else, any major market policy changes other than, again, that move towards more autonomy within his own region, whereas past Filipino leaders have generally sided with the West, solidly with the U.S. and its allies within the region. He's more comfortable, I think, with China sort of being involved with Filipino diplomacy. But then again, Trump's doing the same thing. Trump has a decent relationship with the Chinese government as well, better than he does with the Russian government, which is funny because supposedly he's a pawn. Really, it's China usually. They're the ones buying things from Zuckerberg. Why do you think that's happening? There are some interesting things on their servers, I'm sure, protected by their intranet. That's, more difficult to pierce by design. The North Korean internet, that'd be quite something. It'd be funny to go on the North Korean internet. All 20 websites or something that they have. Like, do they have a Wikipedia equivalent? I know their computers that they've designed there appear to be basically like knockoff Apples. Like they reverse engineered components of it and made some of their own programs. And they're like 200 computers in the whole country, and that's their internet basically. A couple of servers and a few hundred personal computers. And I think that most of it is like colleges and military generals. It's rather strange. I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but Duterte and Asian politics. I find him an interesting character, and I look forward to seeing more of the weird shit that he says. It's just like when Trump tweets. Like a few days ago when he's talking about Elizabeth Warren's husband dressing up in Indian garb while she does her cooking, in her grab me, I'm going to grab a beer, hold on a second, see, I'm just like you, mildly alcoholic sometimes, says Elizabeth Warren, and then he tweets that out. It's like really funny. Duterte does the same thing, and some of these other world leaders as well. So it's a good thing, and Twitter's really, the one thing it is doing well is it's instrumental in getting the humor out, I think, to the masses. That's about all. Peace out.